Hi everyone. Today we're going to have a look at Seamus Heaney's Storm on the Island as part of our series of English literature and language videos on our English at Penrice YouTube channel. The video is intended to help you to understand or develop your understanding of a poem taken from the Poetry Anthology, which you'll be tested on in your English literature, paper 2, section B. Okay, so here's the poem. Pause the video now if you need to read through it once more. And we'll start by looking at some of Heaney's significant meanings and ideas. So we're told that the islanders build their houses squat. So they're not tall buildings, they're quite low, quite solid buildings in order to prepare for the onslaught of the storm. We're also told that the island's quite barren. There aren't any stacks or stooks. Stooks being these collections of hay created from cutting the hay and binding it together. We're also told there are no trees, so there's little in the way of nature that can protect the islanders. In fact, the only mention of nature in the poem really is the attacking nature, the nature's enemy. Further to this idea, one of Heaney's key ideas is that even the sea doesn't provide company and safety, despite it surrounding the island, almost assuming that it would protect the island. Quite the reverse, it explodes down on the cliffs once the storm reaches its height, even to the point where the spray from the waves is reaching the houses that are built on the coast and hitting the windows. And then finally, one of Heaney's key ideas is that the conflict between the storm, so nature, the weather, and the islanders, so man, human beings, is actually like a battle, is it like a war? And we've got this idea of the wind diving and strafing. Strafing is a military term, and it means to attack repeatedly with bombs or machine gun fire from low-flying aircraft. In addition, Heaney mentions that space is a salvo. Again, salvo is a military term, and it means a firing of artillery or other guns in a battle all at the same time, a very destructive tactic. So overall, Heaney's presenting us with a poem about islanders who are preparing for the onslaught of a huge storm and fearing what that storm might destroy and how it might affect their life on the island. Okay, let's have a look at some of the key images created by Heaney in his poem. The quotes "pummels your house too" and "we are bombarded" present the really violent images of the storm. As it repeatedly and brutally beats the houses that the islanders were so certain would withstand the storm. To be bombarded by something, again, is to be attacked relentlessly and repeatedly. So there's this idea through these really aggressive images that this storm is ongoing and powerful. There's also the visual image of the sea exploding comfortably down on the cliffs at the height of the storm. You can picture the waves as they become bigger and more ferocious, which conveys the power and the destruction that the storm might bring to the island. In addition, exploding comfortably as a phrase is an oxymoron, two words that seem to completely juxtapose each other. That suggests that the storm is really familiar with this level of power and destruction and aggression, that actually it's secure in its ability to destroy and explode and shatter the cliffs and potentially the houses on the island even. Moving on to tone. There's two juxtaposing uses of tone in the poem, and interestingly they are placed at the very beginning, at the very end of the poem. Heaney uses a really positive, certain and assured tone in the opening phrase, "We are prepared." The islanders, through this voice of the speaker, at this point seem quite assured that they will survive the storm, that they won't be too affected by the damage that it might bring. However, by the end of the poem, once the speaker has taken us through the possibility of the storm's destructive tendencies, the final phrase, "we fear," conveys quite an anxious tone. So really the islanders, even having prepared for the storm, still fear it, are still anxious and worried about the oncoming powerful weather. On to looking at structure and form. From lines 13 to 16, there's no punctuation used at the end of the lines, and we call this enjambement. The lack of punctuation at the end of the lines creates a fast pace as these lines continue one after the other, that really mirrors the frenzied nature of the storm and how quickly it becomes quite destructive and quite aggressive. On the other hand, Heaney also uses caesura within the line, so where punctuation is placed in the middle of a line of poetry. This works to create a really uneven rhythm throughout the poem, perhaps mirroring the disorder, the uneven and unpredictable nature of the storm itself. And then we have the nature of the one single stanza poem. There aren't any stanza breaks in the poem at all, which suggests that maybe Heaney was trying to echo the storm's relentless, unceasing nature. Nothing is stopping the poem as it's in one long stanza, just as nothing is stopping the storm as it attacks. Finally, we're going to have a look at some key aspects of Heaney's language use. The simile "spits like a tame cat turned savage" is used to describe the waves, the ocean, as it is whipped up by the power of the storm. The juxtaposition of the adjectives tame and savage conveys how unpredictable the storm and the sea is. It changes, it transforms from something calm to something really uncontrollable and violent very, very quickly and suddenly. In addition to that, in that simile, the verb spits evokes a real contempt for the islanders, almost as if the storm is willingly attacking the people who have tried so hard to prepare for it. And then finally, Heaney uses a semantic field of war towards the end of the poem. The word dives, strafes, salvo and bombarded all link to military, to war and conflict, which conveys this overriding idea that the storm is actually a message that that nature is at war with man, that nature is the enemy here, and man is trying desperately to defend themselves against it. Okay, so that was an overview of Seamus Heaney's Storm on the Island. Here's a revision cue card covering all of the ideas that I've gone through today, as well as key quotations, links with other poems from the anthology, and some brief historical and social context that might be relevant. Thanks for listening. Do subscribe to the channel for more videos to support your English language and literature revision for your GCSEs.